Lesbian Persistence is a Scottish civil society organisation which works to raise the profile of lesbians socially, politically and culturally. Our interest in today stems from the historic invisibility and ongoing neglect of lesbians in national and international policy making. We're particularly concerned with the impacts of the intersection of female sex and lesbian sexual orientation. This intersecting and compounded nature of discrimination against lesbians has been previously acknowledged by the CEDAW committee. Lesbian invisibility and widespread lesbophobia means there's almost no research carried out into lesbians, by which I mean same-sex attracted females, a point I shouldn't have to make, but unfortunately is these days essential. Globally, lesbians are subjected to multiple and grave forms of discrimination and violence. These include acts which, frankly, are better described as conversion practices, aimed at curing lesbians of the affliction of loving other women, such as so-called corrective rape and forced marriages. Institutional lesbophobia is also rife. In our written submission, we've highlighted the absence of any differentiated and special temporary measures for lesbians. We've also explained how lesbians' human rights are affected by stereotypes in the context of the Convention. But for this talk, I'd like to focus on a particularly egregious example of the negative impact that sex role stereotyping is having on lesbians. In recent years, we've been impacted by a new and emerging form of violence resulting from the gender identity movement, which is wholly based on sex role stereotypes. Gender identity ideology, in effect, defines who is a woman according to those sex role stereotypes. And these have taken such hold that we see increasing numbers of even very young children being told by their parents or their school that they are really the other sex. In some cases, we know, because they've told us, that this is because parents have suspected their children of being gay. As they grow into adolescence and adulthood, the pressures on young lesbians to conform grows. They face particularly compromising situations in a culture that is saturated with porn and are often pressurized to adapt to concepts of sexuality which are naturally repellent to them. Societal lack of acceptance of non-sex role conformity contrasts strongly with the plaudits offered to those who transition and role-play being members of the other sex. Young lesbians, especially those with comorbidities, are easily pushed into transitioning and thus becoming supposedly straight members of the other sex. Last week, there was a horrifying report saying that over 1,000 masculizing mastectomies a year are being performed in the UK by the NHS alone. The vast majority of the young women having their healthy breasts removed are lesbians. This is, in our opinion, the worst kind of conversion therapy, but it flows naturally from the extreme sex role stereotyping being discussed in GR41.